All right, and so now we're live. At least the little thingy on the computer says so.
It does.
Yeah. So hey, everybody, welcome to this week's edition of Random Tan Experience, and I'm Jeff,
And I'm Liz.
and we are the Jeff and Liz Tan team, and this is Random Tan Experience.
Yep.
So just a little bit more of an intro to ourselves. We are full-time work-from-home entrepreneurs, and which is pretty awesome. Also
homeschoolers,
right? And well, parents first.
Parents first.
Yeah, that's right. Parents. Well, husband and wife first, then
Parents second.
Parents second.
Homeschoolers third.
Yeah, and then work from home entrepreneurs fourth. Yeah, 9 kids. We should mention that too. So that's
Yes.
So parents to our 9 kids, and. Everybody kept asking us when we were going to start our own reality TV.
show.
And so this is it.
Here we go.
Yeah. And so here we go.
With total control on our end, so we don't end up with embarrassingness on air.
Well, a little bit embarrassingness, but
sometimes there's some embarrassingness.
we can control our own embarrassingness.
Yeah.
So
and our kids don't get overexposed.
Yeah. Anyway, so welcome to the show. And this week we wanted to talk about, a little bit of the work from home entrepreneur lifestyle. So a little bit of that. People always ask us questions about that. We want to talk about our parenting ups and downs, some of our good days, and share some of our not so good days, I guess, right? So we all have them. Okay. We have them too, right? So, and also, the beginning of summer, and talking about celebrating our successes, and some of the things that we do as parents to sort of, transitions, right? So transitions,
yes.
Right? Good. Okay. So first of all, what are we going to say about being work from home entrepreneurs? I think the theme of the show is going to be up and down. So,
up and down.
Up and down.
Yes. So if you're an entrepreneur, then you already know that things go up and things go down. Usually not when you're expecting. Sometimes when you're prepared, sometimes you're not. And sometimes sideways. So the up and down and sideways.
That's what happens. Yeah.
And that goes for everything, actually. Up and down and sideways.
Up and down and sideways. Yep. Up and down and sideways. One of our kids is actually trying to talk to us off screen. So, that's why we're kind of a little bit distracted. And that's it, right?
It's random.
It's random, right? So, we've only been doing this show like how many weeks now? And they still...
6 weeks? Is that it? 7, maybe?
Yeah, I can't remember.
I've lost count.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. But
more than 5.
More than 5. And this is a great show to binge watch, on the weekend if you're looking for something else to watch. So yeah, do that and share it with all your friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, up and down and sideways. So some days are great days. So some days when you're an entrepreneur, period. Okay, whether you're work from home or you have an office or so wherever you are an entrepreneur, period. You're going to have some great days, and then you're going to have some not so great days. Okay.
And sometimes they'll happen on the same day.
And yeah, right. So within 5 minutes of each other.
Yeah.
And parenting is a very similar experience, right? So some days you can feel like the best parent ever. And then, 30 seconds later, you are the worst parent in like the history of parents. Right. So, so that's kind of what parenting is like. So if you're going through that, that's okay. 9 kids, we still have days like that.
Yeah.
Right.
And I find them particularly in the early postpartum phase.
Yeah.
Where you're running on little sleep and hormones are all fresh and at the surface, and you are just ready to emote about anything.
Yeah,
random.
Sometimes I find like people say to us, "Oh wow, 9 kids! You guys must be like experts at this now." And I say, "No, no.
Only it's the ones we have."
Yeah, no, and well, not even just that.
Even
I say,
not that.
yeah. So I say, we just cut ourselves a little bit more slack.
Yes.
So that's what it is, right? Like we aren't any more experts. We're just a little bit better at cutting ourselves a little bit more slack, because let's face it,
Otherwise you're going to beat yourself up.
And let's face it,
Yeah.
all of us parents were better parents before we had kids. Okay, so that's the truth. Okay, all of us were better parents before we had kids. And theoretically, right? Because I was a better parent before I had kids. I mean, our kids were going to speak 7 languages before they were 5. Because our kids were going to be, and they were going to be playing Rachmaninoff, like Rachmaninoff when they were 4. I mean, like this was pre-kids, right?
Although I do have to say I have more patience now.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Than I started out with.
Yeah.
I think the problem was I prayed for patience.
And we always get opportunities.
We always get opportunities to practice the virtues that we pray for, as opposed to just being given the virtues that we pray for.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, praying for patience, will get you.
We'll get you.
Like a tantruming 3-year-old for sure. Okay. So, right. Be careful what you pray for. So, okay. But, the homeschooling now, see, the thing is when you combine working from home and homeschooling, that adds a completely different,
Dimension.
Totally dynamic dimension of things. Right. Because, there's nothing like, we don't apologize anymore. Like, if so part of our business, we have to do a lot of calling, right? We do a lot of, we talking on the phone, right? So we talk a lot on the phone because it's not, like messaging and stuff is okay, but nothing ever beats
voice to voice contact.
Right. So, sometimes, we do a lot of talking on the phone, and I used to apologize all the time for my kids screaming in the background, but you know what? You're just going to have to deal with it. Right. Because so like, that's just part of life. And we're just lucky that we're in a business that, that
with lots of other real people who have kids
that,
too.
and, and we just have to, that we have to deal with it. It actually,
we just happen to be in this phase for a really long time.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people, they don't have as many kids as ours. So their screaming, tantruming toddler stage is over in the first, few years. Ours has gone on now
for a long time, right?
17 years.
Yeah, which is, and the reality is too, one of the reasons I left, the work world, was so that I can work from home, and being with our kids. And, if our clients and our customers, it want something else, right? Then, then they might not be the kind of customers that we, that we're going to deal with. Like, we're just going to deal with people who, and there's lots of people, So
that's the other thing you learn as an entrepreneur, is that you're not in the market for everybody.
No,
you have a market.
Yeah. And that's what you do. Right.
And that's one of the things you got to figure out.
And there's lots of people that you can serve in your market. When I left the work world, I was thinking in terms of suit and ties. So that's why I was thinking that I wanted to, be customer, like to
serve.
And I totally would, like, if you wear a shirt and tie, please buy from us too. Like, we'll totally sell them. But, anyway, but I make no apologies for our lifestyle anymore, because
for the crying kids in the background.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's a great lifestyle. I still wake up in the morning, and my commute is 14 steps to my dining room table.
Actually, it's 16.
16. Okay, so she's the numbers, person.
I have some quirks. One of them is that I count stairs.
Right, 16 stairs. So
it's
anyway,
random.
Yeah. But to make life a little bit easier when you're a parent, one of the things I learned when I was a teacher was transition times, right? So doing something, that broke one activity to another, so that it would bookend activities, so that, the transition from, one activity to another wasn't just kind of like didn't melt into each other, but there was definitely a start time and an end time. And with kids, it's very, very important. It's really important. So one of the things that I really encourage parents to do is to really incorporate, a structured prayer time to use as transitions. So one of the things, one of the reasons, well, prayer is always important, and I'm not going to get into the metaphysics of, instilling a prayer life, for your kids. Let's just talk practical right now, right? So let's just talk about the practical level. When you're calling your kids into dinner and saying, we're going to say grace now, and everybody gathers together because they know that it's time to say grace. And after we say grace, it's dinner time, right? So that's, and then the same thing when it's time, to go to bed, instead of trying to herding kids, like gathering your kids is kind of like herding cats. Okay. So instead of, trying to, gather everybody, like everybody melting everybody into bed, what we do is we gather for a family prayer time, right at a specific time. It's not, theoretically it's 8:30, right? But, sometimes it's 9:30, but it doesn't matter.
And then summer comes and everything
summer
goes
comes
out the window.
But because we have because the prayer time is consistent, it doesn't matter if the time is consistent.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the routine
is
what's consistent.
That's what's consistent, right? So
Yeah.
even if it's 10:30, right? And sometimes it is, sometimes. So this is when, like you realize that you're not as great a parent as you think. Sometimes you get, sometimes we get busy and doing some stuff and whatever. And it's like, oh, look, it's 10:30. And oh, the kids are still playing on the Wii, like the 4-year-old is still playing on. It's like, oh, okay. So,
okay, everybody right now.
Yeah. Prayer time, right?
So,
and that's it, right? So there you got your prayer time. And then after prayer, everybody knows, the little kids go to bed, the mid kids have, a few more minutes left. And then the older kids, like the teenagers,
the big kids, yeah.
We trust them to be responsible enough. We trust our big kids to be responsible enough to go to bed at a reasonable time. Right. And, like my deal is, they got to get up and, like if they got to go get to school in the morning. So because I'm not going to call in if they're late. Yeah. So that was one of our big kids off camera asking
for something.
Yeah. It was actually for salad. So that was actually good. So instead of chips, right? So, okay, parenting win.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay. Anyway.
Bedtime.
Bedtime.
The best analogy I ever heard, putting kids to bed is like playing whack-a-mole.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
They keep popping up.
Yeah. So especially the ones that fall asleep during. So here's like my favorite, like it happened tonight. One of our kids got a timeout just before dinner, fell asleep. So
slept right through dinner.
Because
right through prayer time.
Because, like sometimes it's better to just have a peaceful dinner than to wake up the child who is already in a bad mood and, obviously desperately needed a nap. So because I know some parents are like, oh no, they have to have dinner and everything. Sometimes let them sleep so that you guys can have a peaceful dinner. And then if they wake up later, whatever, they had a nap and they can have some dinner later, like they can have dinner and then they can go back to bed. Straight back to bed. So, so that's something that, that's something that you can do.
That happens a lot actually in the toddler stage too, when the naps are starting to get phased out, because sometimes they're ready to stretch their waking time, but they're just not quite ready to make it all the way to bedtime without a nap. And then sometimes they fall asleep in their dinner, which can get messy. Yeah. Or sometimes they fall asleep right before dinner.
Yeah, and there's pictures all over Facebook of kids falling face first in the dinner. So we don't have to put pictures of ours. Yeah. You know what? Before I forget, I want to shout out to our audience in Australia who's watching right now. So just, hey, everybody in Australia, we're totally stoked that you guys are watching us right now. So
we're on the other side of the world.
I know, it's so awesome, right? So we're being watched in Australia. So how cool is the interweb? Right.
That was a dad moment.
Yeah, it was a dad moment. Anyway, all right, good. What are we going to say about the beginning of summer?
Well, in terms of those transition times,
right.
With bookending things with prayer, one of the things that we do really easily during the school year, and is that we start, like we have grace before meals, but also we usually start our day with the morning offering. When we say the morning offering together as a family at the beginning of our school day. And then Angelus at lunch, and then we usually close the school day with the chaplet at 3:00. And then that's the end of the school day. So it's those little breaks during the day where you can fit in prayer, keeping your kids mindful that, they're all here by God's grace, and also that it's a handy time to round them all up because they have chores to do.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And I know we've talked on another show probably about our own prayer life too, because that's really important. As parents, you got to have your own, foster your own prayer life. We have our own individual prayer lives, and we pray together, as husband and wife, and then we pray together as a family, right? So we're really big believers in the importance of prayer, because that's kind of
bringing God into all the relationships.
That's right. Because, we don't just, it's not just about Sunday going to church, right? God wants to have a relationship with us, and, you don't just have a one-day relationship with somebody, you have an ongoing one. So that's, that's part of our, that's part of our, that's part of what we do, right? So that's part of what we do, and it works for us. So if it works for us, it can work for you. So we hope that that.
Now, summer coming, some of those routines, I'll admit, we get a little lax.
Yeah, but it's summertime.
Some of our routines in the summer.
Yeah.
So.
But it's summertime, and we're allowed.
Yes.
Yeah, because we're allowed.
But I heard a really good idea recently about what to do, because our kids tend to get bored. So an idea, and I'm not sure how long it will last, but if you sit down with them and you get them to brainstorm all the ideas of things they would like to do during the summer, and you keep a list, and then when they come to you, as they inevitably will, I'm bored. Then you can say, okay, go pick something off your list. You made the list of stuff you want to do. Now it's up to you to pick one.
Yeah. And it sure beats my usual go-to when they come to me. I'm hungry. Hi, hungry. I'm your dad. What can I have? You can have a big hug. Doesn't really go over so well all the time. So yeah, that list thing.
Clearly with some of them.
Yeah. So, anyway, but yeah. So the list is a better idea. Do that one. Right. So now, something that I wanted to talk about tonight, just really quickly, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're, in like everyday life or whatever, celebrate your successes. Okay. So it's really, really important to celebrate your successes, because we are surrounded with enough negativity, right, in our everyday life. And I know I've said this before, like, our brains process what we feed it. The first thing when we wake up, and the last thing when we go to bed. And some people, what they do is they get up and they read the morning news, and then okay, it's all bad news. Okay, it's all bad news. You have to really search hard for like good news. Okay, and hold on. You guys are getting a little loud. I had to do that on air. So anyway, so celebrate your successes, right? So celebrate your successes. Look for good things. Okay, so surround yourself with good things. And when you do something good, or when you reach a milestone, or when you hit a goal, celebrate it. Whether you get yourself a little chocolate bar, or whether you get yourself, a little treat,
new pair of shoes.
A new pair of shoes, that's allowed, right? So, but have a budget for that, right? Like, so have, have a celebration budget, right? Because
otherwise you can spend too much.
Well, one of the things, I know I've said before is like, I do, some coaching, right? So, and on financial coaching, not mutual fund type investing coaching, but more day-to-day, how do I manage our day-to-day, our daily bread, right? So,
which is really more to keep himself in check, because actually of the two of us, he's the one to splurge.
Oh yeah, no, I totally admit that, right? Totally admit that. Like, it's better if Liz does the groceries because she'll go out with $150 and come back with 3 weeks worth of food. I go out with $150. I come back with chips and pop, like,
and a meal.
Oh yeah,
One meal.
Or maybe a bag of salad. I don't know. I can spend.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I can spend $150 and come back with a bag of salad and chips. So anyway, right. So she's better at doing the grocery shopping. So, but yeah. So like I said, we're surrounded with enough negativity. Make sure you surround yourself with positive things. Okay, that's really important. I also say that also in my life coaching practice too, like make sure you surround yourself with positive things, getting yourself into a success state. We just talked about that. Like Tony Robbins actually talks about that, getting your mindset into a success mindset, just as a strategy. And I'm not talking about like airy fairy, fluffy mindsets. All of us have a time in our life when we've experienced some success, and there was an emotion that went along with that. And sometimes when we find ourselves frustrated or trying to face a task or something that might seem overwhelming, it's important to take a step back, right? To take a step back and get yourself into that same emotional mindset, emotional state. That you are in when you achieved a past success. So bring that right back, and then and then move forward. And then when you achieve whatever you're striving to, then celebrate that. So you got to celebrate things like every step of the way.
Yeah. Otherwise, you can get stuck in sort of a negative loop. And the thing about our minds and our bodies is that they know what each other's doing, right? So you can have a physical response to an emotional state. You can have an emotional response to a physical state. And so if you're mindful of creating those states, then you can have a synchronicity and a direction and a more focus on what it is that you need to accomplish.
Yeah.
Right. So like an example of a physical reaction is tears, right? So you have an emotional response, you're sad about something, and you have a physical manifestation. When you laugh, it's a physical manifestation of your brain's interpretation of something humorous. So in the same way, it goes both ways. So you can trigger those emotions by getting yourself into a physical, sometimes by doing a physical stance, physical posture. Some people find they need to work out to get into that state.
That endorphin rush, yeah.
And to get that endorphin rush, because endorphins are part of that whole mind-body connection, right? So when you smile, your body releases endorphins, it makes you happy. So even if you can't say you're happy to begin with, if you smile, you can actually start making yourself feel happiness.
Yep.
Because your body responds, your brain will respond from the physical cues that you're giving it.
And when it comes to your kids, right, you can actually change the mood of your kids, okay, by consciously changing your own state, right? So for example, when your kids are frustrated, okay, so emotions can be contagious. There's that one video, the viral video that's going on. I think it's an ad for something or whatever, and that the guy's laughing on the train, and then everybody starts laughing, and everybody starts being happy because it's contagious. Laughter is contagious. Well, so is frustration, and you can catch frustration from your kids very, very fast. Like you can really catch frustration with your kids very, very fast. But if you can consciously bring yourself to a state of happiness, they can actually catch happiness from you, right? So, it's the same kind of principle as not overreacting when they fall down, right? Because sometimes they get stressed by your reaction, right? So if they fall down and you're freaking out, they'll get stressed out and scared by your reaction, and it'll compound it even more. But
I find a lot of the time, particularly with the little ones, they'll fall down and then they'll look at me.
Yeah.
and I look at them and I wait for them to respond. And I say, "You okay?" And if they say no, then I'll respond, appropriately. But if they look and then they think, and you can see them assessing, yeah, I'm okay. And I'm like, okay, off you go.
Yeah.
No need to stress.
No.
No need to worry.
No.
Off you go.
Yep, off you go. So it's good. So what to celebrate? So what are things that you saw? Paying your bills. Okay, so
as an entrepreneur, that's exciting.
That's exciting, right? But even when you're not an entrepreneur, hey, you know what? Let's we paid all our bills. So let's buy a chocolate bar. That's that's something, right? So that's something to celebrate. So look for little things to celebrate, because you're going to find, that you start celebrating more. And when you start celebrating more, one of our kids asked to go to the potty today. I don't even know if it worked.
Yeah,
it did. Oh, it worked. Yeah. So celebrate. Yeah. So we'll have a little bit of chocolate bar tonight. So so celebrate those little things, right? Celebrate those little things, right? So those are super, super important things, because like I said, so so our kids are trying to talk. Yeah, like our kids are trying to tell us stuff, and they can see that we're busy. Like, hello, we're on the internet here, so like,
it's okay.
Anyway, yeah. So I hope you guys enjoy this stuff, right? So I hope you guys have fun. But yeah, like I said, this is life. This is parenting life. Yeah. So
I think we're about done.
I think so too, because I think we're coming up to the top of the hour, and so everybody has been kind of watching us now, and we talked about everything almost on our list. So that's good. So remember to send us your questions. Okay, we want to hear from you. randomtanexperience@gmail.com. And and if you haven't joined it yet, join our Facebook group, #randomtanexperience, and see all of our shenanigans, and take a look at. Actually, what's fun is I do when we do our homeschooling stuff, like sometimes I'll post some of our homeschooling science experiments. It's only available, like I only post it on our Facebook group. So if you want to see those, just check out our Facebook group and see, see us make like little air pressure pop guns with orange peels and shooting rockets to our sea. Anyway, that one, Liz really liked that one. Anyway, so yeah. And then enjoy and send us your questions and comments and feedback, because we want to hear from you. To our friends in Australia, have a great day.
Morning.
And actually, we're probably going to call one of you in about 4 or 5 minutes. So if you're watching this, we'll Skype. Okay, we'll Skype pretty soon. And that's about it. We'll join you next week around the same time. Yeah. And I don't know what we'll be talking about next week.
We'll figure it out randomly.
So randomly. So have a great night, everybody. Talk to you later.
Cheers.